in the heart of 15th century Wallachia, a forest unlike any other. These were not trees adorned with leaves, but instead, they bore a gruesome harvest of impaled human bodies. This was the Forest of the Impaled, the nightmarish creation of Vlad the Impaler. Who was Vlad the Impaler, and what drove him to commit such horrors? The first chapter of this dark story begins on a night etched in infamy. Within the imposing stone walls of Vlad's fortress, nestled deep within the Carpathians, a banquet unfolded. Nobles and dignitaries, adorned in opulent garments, had gathered. It appeared to be a night of celebration, a night of feasting and revelry. As the banquet commenced, a sinister air descended upon the grand hall. A creeping unease spread among the guests, who soon realized that the purpose of their gathering was far from joyous. Unbeknownst to them, Vlad had orchestrated a night of terror and death. The banquet hall, bathed in flickering candlelight, bore witness to the unfolding horror. The nobles, adorned in jewels and fine silks, now sat in a state of bewilderment and dread. For the decorations that adorned the banquet tables were not the usual trappings of celebration. They were trophies of suffering, impaled heads, mounted on spikes, leered from every corner of the hall. The eyes of the lifeless heads seemed to follow the movements of the guests, a grotesque reminder of the fate that awaited those who dared to cross Vlad the Impaler. As the night progressed, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. Vlad's guests, once resplendent in their finery, now appeared as prisoners in a gilded cage. They could not escape the grim reality of their situation. At any moment, they could be next. A night of terror orchestrated by a ruler whose cruelty knew no bounds. Vlad the Impaler had sent a chilling message to his guests and to the world. He would stop at nothing to maintain his grip on power. To comprehend the darkness that engulfed Vlad the Impaler's soul, one must journey back to the early shadows of his life. His path to infamy was not without the stain of tragedy and betrayal. Vlad III was born in 1431 in Sighișoara, a picturesque town in Transylvania, a region known for its rugged beauty and haunting landscapes. He came into the world as the son of Vlad II, a nobleman known for his affiliation with the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order established to defend Christianity against the Ottoman Turks. However, Vlad's early life was far from idyllic. Tragedy struck young Vlad when his father was betrayed and assassinated by political rivals. The young prince and his brother, Radu, were then taken captive by the Ottoman Turks, a captivity that would shape Vlad's destiny. The years spent in Ottoman captivity were marked by hardship and suffering. Vlad endured the harsh conditions of his imprisonment, and it was during these formative years that he developed a fierce determination to reclaim his homeland and exact vengeance on those who had wronged him and his family. The Ottomans, perhaps unwittingly, sowed the seeds of the Impaler's ruthless nature. The cruelty he witnessed during his imprisonment and the suffering he endured left an indelible mark on his psyche. It was a period of suffering that would haunt him and drive him to commit unspeakable acts in the years to come. Upon his eventual release, Vlad returned to Wallachia, determined to seize the throne that was rightfully his. But this return was not without its challenges. The throne was a coveted prize, and Vlad's rivals and enemies were numerous. As he ascended to power, Vlad's reign was marked by relentless conflict. His battles against the Ottoman Empire, led by the formidable Sultan Mehmed II, were a testament to his unyielding spirit and thirst for revenge. The early shadows of Vlad's life, marred by captivity, betrayal, and vengeance, laid the foundation for the ruler he would become, the Impaler. The world would soon come to know the true extent of his cruelty, as the pages of history recorded the horrors that unfolded under his rule. With the throne secured, Vlad embarked on a mission to consolidate his power. His rule was characterized by a reign of terror, a calculated effort to maintain control through fear. The most infamous symbol of this reign was, of course, the method that earned him his chilling moniker, impalement. Impalement was a gruesome form of execution. Victims were skewered on tall, sharp wooden stakes and left to die in excruciating agony. The forest, as we've mentioned before, bore witness to this grotesque practice, becoming the embodiment of Vlad's cruelty. Rows upon rows of impaled victims, both criminals and innocents alike, served as a macabre warning to all who dared oppose him. Vlad's reign of blood extended beyond the forest. His method of execution was not reserved for specific individuals. It was a weapon of psychological warfare, intended to paralyze his enemies with fear. Whole towns and villages faced the horror of impalement, including women and children. But Vlad's cruelty did not stop at impalement. He devised a multitude of other horrific tortures and punishments, each more sadistic than the last. Boiling, burning, flaying, and mutilation were among the gruesome methods he employed to instill terror. His own castle, the infamous Poenari Castle, was a place where suffering knew no bounds. Captives, often prisoners of war or those who had earned his wrath, faced unimaginable horrors within its darkened halls. The dungeons, lit only by flickering torchlight, became chambers of torment and despair. One of Vlad's most infamous acts was the impalement of Ottoman envoys who had come to discuss matters of peace. This brazen defiance of the mighty Ottoman Empire would trigger a series of events that would test Vlad's resolve and brutality to their limits. Vlad the Impaler's reign of terror reached its zenith, and the world could no longer ignore the horrors unfolding within Wallachia's borders. Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, had set his sights on Wallachia. The Sultan had grown increasingly incensed by Vlad's defiance and audacity. The impalement of Ottoman envoys, who had come to negotiate terms of peace, was an act that could not go unanswered. In 1462, Mehmed II assembled a formidable army and launched a campaign against Wallachia, seeking to bring Vlad to his knees. Vlad employed his infamous tactics, utilizing guerrilla warfare and scorched earth tactics to slow the Ottoman advance. Yet the Sultan's forces were vast, and the Impaler's resistance could only hold for so long. The fate of Wallachia hung in the balance. As the conflict raged on, Vlad faced the harsh realities of war. His once unyielding resolve began to wane, and the horrors he had unleashed upon others now returned to haunt him. In a desperate bid to retain his throne, Vlad sought support from external allies, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. Betrayed and isolated, he fought on, clinging to the hope of preserving his homeland from Ottoman rule. Ultimately, the Ottomans prevailed, and Vlad the Impaler was forced to retreat. His reign of blood had come to an end, but his legacy endured, a testament to the horrors he had inflicted upon his enemies and his own people. Vlad the Impaler's brutal reign ended with his retreat, and the horrors he unleashed would resonate through history. His name, Dracula, derived from his father's affiliation with the Order of the Dragon, signified his commitment to defending Wallachia against its enemies. However, Vlad's legacy took a macabre turn when Bram Stoker penned the novel Dracula in 1897. While the character Count Dracula is fictional, Stoker drew inspiration from Vlad's historical reputation, blending it with vampire mythology to create an enduring cultural icon. Yet the true nature of Vlad's rule remained a subject of debate. His sadistic methods and terrifying reputation left a lasting impact. One horrific story recounts his alleged boiling of the ears of enemies and forcing prisoners to consume them, exemplifying his cruelty. Another tale tells of a valuable golden bell placed in a public square, left unguarded, yet untouched by the people, out of fear of Vlad's retribution. This bell was not only a symbol of his power, but also a chilling test to see if anyone dared to betray him. Vlad's name remains synonymous with terror, an indelible mark on history where fact meets fiction and brutality merges with legend.